Good evening, everybody. This is StonesCast 73, Wheelstone Supporters Independent Podcast. I'm joined today as the host with Chris Bone.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, Chris. Thanks for coming. Tom Marshall. Hi, Tom.
Evening, all. How are we doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. And we've got a debutant on board today. He's been waiting for his chance to show his face in glory. He didn't want to do it when we were just sat in the ground. We've got Warren Ladd. How are you, Warren?
Evening, Paul. Evening, guys. Looking forward to this. A lot of preparation work done.
Thank you for coming on. It's been an interesting, I guess, couple of weeks, probably in terms of what we've seen at Wheelstone. We've gained a physio, we've lost a physio, we haven't won any points. We've had a meter manager session, and we go on to play Eastleigh, who are knocking on the door of the playoffs on Saturday at home at the Vale. So, in terms of what we're looking at, talking about here, chaps, is just sort of discussing those topics really, and sort of getting a point of view of where we see the club at this stage in proceedings. Not many games to go. You know, I think everyone probably see them as being a bit of a cup final in that true sense of a word. We're going to have to try and get at least 15, 16 points. I think 50 plus points is going to see what will keep us up, if that can happen. So, first of all, we went to Tamworth last Tuesday night and we lost 4-1. And then we went to Rochdale on Saturday, which we also lost 4-1. So there's a theme there at least. At least there's a consistency amongst the team. But Tom, I know you were at Tamworth. I know you were pretty vocal around the performance, similar to many that were there. I mean, what are your views around what we saw at Tamworth and going forward into Rochdale? I know, Warren, you were our representative there at Rochdale. So your views on that?
Yeah, Tamworth was a weird one. It was 3 wins on the bounce. You go into it, you should be high on confidence, but I didn't kind of go into that game really feeling we were going to turn them over at their place. I mean, yeah, we won 3 games previously, but did we play well in any of those 3 games? I don't think we did. Ebbsfleet, we won 4-2, but that penalty that we were gifted at 1-0 wasn't a penalty. We got a bit of luck in that game. Braintree, we should have been 3 or 4 down at half time in that game, but yeah, we did well at comeback. And from minute 1, we just never got going against Tamworth. I mean, Tamworth were effective. They weren't a great side, but they set up well and they just bullied us from minute 1. And again, we should have probably been 3 or 4 down at half time if it weren't for Luca Gunter in goal. And then I was very vocal about Eastman with the red card. I think that's the third time, at least the third time this season, he's been booked for arguing with a referee. And I thought the second yellow at first was a yellow card, so I was furious at that when it was given. But looking back, I don't think it probably was a yellow card. But he's put himself in that situation anyway by getting booked in the first half anyway. Once that red card happens, obviously the penalty, which wasn't the penalty, was given, but the game was just gone then, and we just rolled over to lose 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, I was up at Tamworth and I felt the same. Craig Eastman sucked himself into that situation late on in the first half. He was having a sort of his own personal battle with Hayden Hollis, who was loving the fact that it was all happening in front of the Wheelstone fans. And I think I don't think that helped Craig Eastman's in any way, because obviously it all just built up. And the problem was the referee's got a decision to make. And I know Warren and I spoke about it off. Tamworth knew what they were doing in terms of playing those dark halves. And as soon as
why didn't he make a substitution? Why didn't he make a substitution at half time? It was going to happen. He was going to get taken. He was going to get a card at some point.
I don't disagree with you, but I suppose the manager's got to rely on a player's instinct to say, okay, boss, I've calmed down. I'll be okay. Whatever it may be. And he's been sucked into a challenge. The 9 outfield Tamworth players, I don't think any of them didn't point towards the referee, didn't point towards the foul on the ground, didn't point at the guy holding his leg off like had been hanging off and he'd had an accident in the snow dome opposite. And then and he's going to walk and then you got 44 minutes with 10 men. So very, very difficult one. I'm with you, Tom. You look at it and think, was it a red card? But he shouldn't be given that situation. I think, Warren, you're right. does the manager, is he naive in leaving him on? It's a really difficult one to sort
Yes.
of.
Well, I guess if it was Christian Scott, yeah, he get hooked. But Craig Eastman's supposed to be an experienced footballer, so you'd think he would try and just let the game roll for at least 5 minutes of the second half. But yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But it's through it, didn't it?
He's got form this season, though, Eastman. He did it against Maidenhead. He's come on against Maidenhead. You know, we got back to 1-1 and we conceded a poor goal, but at 2-1 in that game, we're more than in that, which was a big game for us at the time. We were on a good run of form at that point, and he's had a brainless tackle in that game, which has thrown the game away for us, and he's done it again against Tamworth in what was we'd see as another winnable game. So he's not helped us at all this season.
No, well, I think he's played 7 games or started 7 games this season out of 36.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the marquee signings that we try and make, or those signings that the fans help with, certainly he's one of those, and it has been a disappointment. And he was one of those players, I think, and I know, Warren, you look at the squad and we talk about it as well, don't we, in terms of what's available and what the quality is he's one of the ones that we should be relying on. With all due respect, we shouldn't be relying on young Callum Cisse. He's still developing. He's quite raw, and we're kind of relying on him when actually we should be relying on Eastman and having Callum Cisse sort of follow him in his slipstream. And it's not, it's disappointing to see the likes of Eastman not contribute like he should do and help the cause.
I just think,
sorry, go on.
I just think that when in the summer, we wanted characters to come into the dressing room. I think that's what Matt Taylor wanted. It's no point in being in the dressing room if you can't get on the pitch. If he gets suspended or he's injured, he was unlucky to get injured at the pre-season. But there's no point having a guy in the dressing room to G them up. That's what the manager should be doing. We want guys on the pitch who are contributing on the pitch to help the younger players, like I said.
I don't think it's helped Eastman as well. I mean, obviously he was injured for the first 3-4 months of the season. He's been trying to play catch up ever since. He's come in, he's tried to force himself into the team, break into the team, and it's almost like he's trying too hard. He's sort of trying to prove his point, but in doing that, he's making rash tackles. And even the games he has played, has he really had much of a positive impact? Some people might argue he has. I've not seen it personally. I've not seen him dominate games in that midfield area in any of the games that he started. It's been a real disappointment for me.
Yeah, I agree. But if you, I think it was Wobbs that said that he spoke to, when we played Sutton, he was talking to the chairman there, and I think they were quite surprised that he left Sutton United. So, for us at the time, it must have been a good quality signing. But yeah, I agree with you. Hasn't worked out.
Yeah, and he was a good sign on paper. It's a great signing. The experience he's got from his Arsenal Academy days right the way through his EFL career and what he did with Sutton, especially, in the back in the last sort of 5, or probably in the last 10 years. It's, that's a real coup to get someone like him to come in and play alongside someone like maybe Adrian Mariappa. And I know we've spoken about him on both StonesCast chats as well as on the StonesCast that are sent out for people to watch. And, those two, we can't single those two out, but those are sort of the two players that you want them to galvanise the rest of the squad, because the squad, I don't believe, has got a lot of experience and quality where it's needed. And that backbone of the side, the goalkeeper, centre half, centre midfield, centre forward, is really important for any team, especially the one that's sort of struggling for any form, confidence, and points. And we go and look. Mariappa's not set the world alight. Eastman, we've just discussed. Centre forwards, we've had Reed come in, Reed come out. Our Darkwood not start. Ashford come in, Ashford go. We've really struggled for that spine of the team, and we could do a whole podcast on goalkeepers and what they can and can't do. So it's really disappointing that we haven't seen more of those better players.
You're right. We shouldn't single them out. You are right, but what you can't forget is these players are taking up a massive chunk of our wage bill. So if they're not performing, it leaves us very little wriggle room to replace them, bring people in, because we can't afford to have £3,000 worth of players sat on the bench, because we kind of have they have to perform, and then when they don't, it has a huge impact.
I just think we're 1 year too late. 1 season too late is most probably what we've got with both of them. A year ago, most probably they would have done a good job. It's just 1 season too many.
Yeah, you're probably right. And again, when we signed them, it was all 4 of us would probably think, "Oh, great signings." The fact they haven't worked out, you know, a lot of people have been critical of Matt Taylor's recruitment. You can't really pin it down to him because when we signed these players, everyone was going, "Oh, great signings, great signings." They've not worked out, which has been, you know, disappointing.
But then I think, as you said, Eastman is probably playing catch up. He's trying to make a good impression and make up for. He probably feels that he's not given to the club what he should have given because he's been injured, and now he's trying to make it up. And I think the other thing to look at as well is, as you said, it's taken up a lot of our budget. So a lot of the signings that we made in the summer were lower quality than we normally have. So instead of going for an average across the middle, we've gone for some what we could perceive to be higher quality and so lower quality. And you look at what we got rid of. Is it Miller's gone? Miller's gone today.
Yeah.
You know, and the other guys have already gone. So.
Yeah, I think the dissection of recruitment in the squad will probably be left to the end of the season, depending where we end up and what have you. But Warren, I know you took one for the team maybe and went up to Rochdale on Saturday. And
yeah, certainly did.
You give us your take firsthand of what you saw and what you felt was good or different or better or worse than what we maybe saw on Tuesday at Tamworth.
Yeah, so I thought I'll give myself a nice birthday treat. I'll go up to Rochdale and watch Wealdstone play. Did they give me the treat I wanted? No, they didn't. There was a lack of fight, purpose, style from the team that we haven't seen for a long time. Lots of long balls, hoofing it from Jack Cook to go to our striker. It was really, really, really bad. We had a chance just before half time, actually. Alex Reid was clean through, attacking our fans. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, shoot. He never looked like shooting and he got touched. He went down, didn't get the penalty, but he never looked like pulling the trigger. And that's a confidence thing. This team, and the manager mentioned it last night, the lack of confidence in a team when they went 1-0 down against a better team. And that was evident in that game, and they never, ever got back into it. Second half, and from what I understand, the guy who tackled him was on a yellow card. So he would have been sent off. Game could have changed, but it didn't. That's football. You know, you get the penalties, you don't get the penalties. You get the yellow cards, you don't get them. But we never looked like really troubling them. They were in first gear. It was like walking football. It was very slow. Again, they even punted it long. Jack Cook missed the ball. Guy was clean through, scored, and the game was over at 2-0. And they lacked purpose and style. We had Giorgio, who isn't one of my favourite players. Just if you're in opposition, you're going to attack him. If he's playing in defence, you attack him because he can't tackle, right? And we just sat deep and we're just slow. There's no pace, and teams will pick us off, unfortunately.
And I mean, interesting what you say there, Warren, in relation to, okay, we could talk about style and we'll talk about it a bit more when we talk about Meet the Manager, because I know he spoke about that. But, you know, from your point of view, Chris and Tom, you've been to the last few games as well. Is there a worry that there's perceived to be a lack of fight, which we saw that in bundles last year, even if the quality wasn't there? Is there a worry there that this perceived lack of fight or cohesion is going to hinder us?
I think it's as the manager said last night, it's confidence. You know, as soon as we go a goal down against one of the top teams, their heads drop and they just feel they're not going to get back. But when we go down one goal down against Yeovil or Braintree, you think, oh, okay, we're still in with a chance, and the guys go for it. But but I think you look at going back to Tamworth and Rochdale. Now, we should have had penalties. I mean, the penalty that we didn't get against Tamworth was identical to the penalty that Woking got against us at Woking. So, yeah, who knows? But, I think it's a confidence thing. I think they probably thought, we'll go there, give it our best shot, and as soon as we go a goal down, heads drop. I mean, I wasn't there, but I think the manager said last night that he picks players and tries to match them against players they're coming up against. And he just said that some of the players just haven't been at their best doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Sorry, Tom, I was going to say, what do you think about that? Because that's a difficult one for the manager, because he sets them up, sends them out, and they don't do as they say, or they don't perform as you would expect them to. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is definitely a confidence thing, but I'm not entirely sure that the players are confident in what they're being asked to do. I'm not sure whether it's not clear or whether they just don't feel it's the right way to play. I've not seen any. I mean, under Taylor, we weren't great, but we had a few good performances under Taylor. We've not had a good performance under Gibson yet. Even the games that we won, like I said, we didn't really play particularly well. I've not seen going forward what we're trying to achieve. We've got no, as Warren said, I think we've got no pace in this side. We're playing direct to Alex Reid, which isn't his game. It's bypassing our midfield. Max has been completely anonymous in the last 2 months. He's had no impact on games at all, and I'm just not sure the players have fully bought into what Gibson's trying to do yet. Whether that happens, obviously, I hope it does, because I like Gibson. I like how he speaks, but I'm just not sold that the players are buying into it at the minute.
I think, the last two games, losing 4-1 both, and being at Tamworth, and there was that sense of once they lost them, they went to 10 men, and then the penalty was given away. There was only going to be one winner in that game, and it appears that was the same at Rochdale, Warren, like you said. But it's a difficult one for the manager, because I know from what Matt Taylor used to say was that there was that trying to get them mentally better, and I know that's been a real sort of source of frustration, I guess, from especially from us and the StonesCast group, in terms of how mentally weak the players seem to be in a game management and otherwise. Is there anything that we think the manager could do differently or will do differently to make that better? Because it doesn't appear that's happened in the last couple of days, last couple of games.
After last night, he basically said he's playing a way to get a few results, and it's not his style. So basically, the team lacks an X factor, really. We saw Taryn scored a goal against us. That we don't have the quality of a player like that on the wing, like Enzio or Giorgio getting forward to hit the ball like he scored against us. So we've downgraded that position. And, Taryn may not have been consistent, but he had that X factor that one day, every so often, he was going to have a game, and he did it. He scored a lovely goal. I don't think he did much else in the game. He scored a lovely goal, and he was apologetic for celebrating in front of us because he didn't realise it. But he should celebrate. He scored a good goal. We haven't got that X factor that's going to get us out. Like last year, we got to Silva late in the season. That bit of pace, that little skill, that guile that he had. He wasn't the best player in the world, but he had pace, and we just don't have that. We've got Alex Reid. He's a good goal scorer, but if we ain't got midfield, if we're playing Alex Dyer, he ain't going to get many chances, and that's my concern. Yeah, it's creating chances that we're not doing because we're holding the ball and then hitting it long. National League defenders are going to gobble those balls up all day long, especially when you have one man up top.
I mean, you look at Tamworth. I mean, they were direct, but they had width. The wide players they weren't necessarily especially skillful, but they were quick. They were direct. They had the way they identified the way they wanted to play, and they did it. And losing Taryn was a huge blow for us. We haven't replaced him. And our width comes from our fullbacks in Giorgio and Enzio. Giorgio, he's got a great left foot, but that's literally all he's got. If any defender that's watched him over the season, just show him inside, he's not going to do anything. And Enzio is, I've said it all season, I feel a bit sorry for him because I don't think we signed him as a right wing back. And he's been put in this position all season. He's done all right. We've not had a right back all season. How have we not signed a right back? We've not had one since the first game of the season. Enzio should be further up the pitch, but
we look at when he did push forward. What was the goal when he got the deflection? That's the result of him pushing forward. Yeah. So sorry, Tom.
Tom, I think you've hit the nail on the head. There is no pace in that football team. I got asked 2 or 3 weeks ago by a young blogger called Callum Hallett, who did a piece on what National League teams need as one sort of player or position. And I identified with him that it was that X factor, a wide player, someone that can stretch defenses, someone that can sort of get the ball from defense into attack, almost that transition, want for a better phrase, in terms of what we talk about in football. And we've always like that. And I'm a bit with Warren, Anthony Giorgio's a tidy football player. If he had pace, he wouldn't be playing for Wealdstone, but he's got no pace. Enzio, as far as I'm concerned, he might be playing out of position, but he's another one alongside Eastman and alongside, who else did we talk about? Having Mariappa. He's got experience at this level and higher, and he's not shown me personally anything that suggests that he should be in that football team. He may as well sit next to us some games because he doesn't affect the game in defence or attack, because he just what does he do? Yes, he's got a couple of goals. So if we've got ineffectual wingers or fullbacks or wing backs, whatever you want to call them, we can't use that ball wide or those areas. So then we have to go through the middle, which is now appears to be that long ball tactic. And then we just don't have any sort of strength or pace to pick the ball up and go with it in that last third.
But Paul, our attacking players in the last few weeks, I mean, Dom Hutchinson and Michael Robbiero, these are two players that most Wealdstone fans would have written off 3 or 4 times in the past 2 years. They're still playing. They're still in our front line. I find it beggars belief that they're still getting game time. After all this, they've offered nothing for 2 seasons. And that's why we are where we are. We're carrying too many players.
No, I completely agree with you, Tom. I don't know what you think, Chris, but we could talk about recruitment but it's coming home to roost now in terms of where we want to be and what we need to get to survive. And if we have to rely on Christian Scott on the bench, Dom Hutchinson playing wing on the wing, as an example, Michael Obiero to play up front, who got given a 2-year contract off probably 4 or 5 decent games, that to me proves the retention of some of the squad was as bad as the recruitment that was made to supplement them.
Well, ironically, Dom Hutchinson was used as an example last night that when he's come back and played in the team, we've won 3 of the 5 games that he's played in. So he was used as a positive example of an improved player under the new management. Yeah,
that baffled me. It really did.
It is baffling, yeah.
Well, listen, someone you can only, he's been improved because he's actually playing football. He hasn't played properly for months. Slough didn't want him. St Albans didn't want him. So you can only be better because you're playing. He hasn't been playing. So I don't mind Dom as a person, but I don't think he's even probably National League South standard. He's certainly not someone who you can rely on in a relegation battle to try and give you that X factor.
He's a pretty footballer. He's technically decent. He's probably very good in a 5-a-side, 6-a-side court. But in terms of impacting a National League game, scoring 10 goals a season, I think he's played about 30 or 40 games for us now. He scored 1 goal. It says everything you need to know about an attacking player. It's not good enough.
No, I agree. And we could go through every single player in the squad.
And again, Paul, I think it goes back to what we said earlier on, that we spent a lot of money on experienced players, as Warren pointed out, all the season too late, which has affected our recruitment, which has meant that we haven't got the money to spend on an average squad. So it goes back to what we said earlier on, really, doesn't it? So
I also think the signings have been really weak as well. Really weak. Jack Wells-Morrison was good. Reed obviously is. I'm talking about the academy players from the Premier League and the youth systems. We've had Aaron Henrys before. We've had players who've made an impact. McAvoy the first time. Some good goalkeepers. Gunter's okay. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's got terrible defence. But we've had those X-Factor loans before that we haven't had this year that have supplemented the team, that gets us out of a mess by signing an Eastman or a Mariappa. The loss of Charlie Barker in that defence and I can't remember the other defender who got injured at the beginning of the season has been massive for us. It's massive. They're two top quality defenders in the league. And we've not replaced them. Sorry?
Mundles, you mean?
No, he got done at Ebbsfleet. I can't think what his name is now. The centre half.
Oh yeah, yes.
Mason Barrett.
Mason Barrett, yeah. There were good players that we haven't replaced. We've been left with Cook and Mariappa, two slow centre halves. It's recruitment is the big issue this year.
Yeah, no, I think Warren. I don't disagree. There seems to be some really good relationships built, and I know people will counter argue it, but really good relationships built with the likes of Charlton, Millwall. Who else have we had?
Fulham.
Players from Fulham. That doesn't appear to be there this time round, and and I think it shows how indifferent it's been when it's the goalkeeper that's been a real difficult problem, but actually it's the goalkeeper that's been consistently okay and not been a noticeable one out of all of those loans that we've had. And I think you're right, Warren. We need to tap into this market to supplement those players, and it just hasn't been there. And I just don't think the squad, in terms of what we have now, has really been massively improved on what we've had previously. And we're putting more money and resource into this team than we ever have done, and we're just not getting those results. So,
is this another byproduct of losing Maynard? We said when we had Maynard, a lot of these professional clubs love sending their young players here because of the style of football that we played. It seems that ever since we've lost Maynard, we've lost this, maybe the willingness for clubs to send their technically gifted footballers to us. Well, we got Jack Wells-Morrison this season, but
I think, and listen, I don't know for sure, but I know for a fact that when Stu and Matty were in charge, they were constantly at football matches, academy matches, building relationships, tapping in, probably telling them, and what we famously saw as Matty Saunders talk about the blueprint, telling them what they believe in terms of how they play football. And these managers will go, we'll give you a chance. The other thing is we'll give you minutes, we'll give you a platform. We all know we're not daft to think that Matt Taylor spent more time on the golf course than he did at under 21 academy matches. And that's borne fruit in terms of what we're able to bring in. He may have used some names that he knows or contacts he's got in the pro game, but it just felt like it was a real scattergun approach to trying to get somebody in. There was no real structure and thought around how you're going to go and find these players. So I think you're right. So I think there is that element of that's another byproduct, because we had a real identity. We didn't have an identity under Matt Taylor. No one knows what sort of style he played. It took him 15 games to decide what his best 11 was. So what's his style of play? You're not going to attract players to come and play for them. So I think that's another one of those little byproducts. And hopefully with this new guy, whether it be Wales from the north, he's going to have those contacts and understand the league and understand the players that can play in that league.
I think they mentioned it last night, for example. They were going to go to see Eastleigh play live against Oldham, but they couldn't get there because of the M6. They definitely have that football mentality, the two of them as a pair, to go and see players and go and see teams. Now, as you said, their knowledge is Tranmere and that Liverpool northwest area. They've got to learn the teams in the south, the academies, get the connections, but they definitely do seem like guys who, when they're permanently living in, in London area, they they'll be going to games. They're football people. You can see it. You could tell last night.
And I suppose that's one of those crumbs of comfort we need to just sort of cling on to and hope that we get those 15, 16, 17 points to stay up. And, they build a platform in the pre-season. They can recruit their own players. We can clear the decks, and we can see what money we've got, and then, hopefully give him a sound sort of building blocks to have an attack on whatever league we happen to be in. Hopefully it will be the National League. But in terms of the National League, in terms of what we've got coming up, I mean, we're going to preview the game coming up at the Vale, chaps, and we've got Eastleigh at home, managed by Kelvin Davis. They're currently in 10th place, 3 points off the playoffs. So another team that we've got to go and face who've still got something to play for. And I don't think that's going to let up until much towards the end of the season. We're going to be facing teams that need to do something for their own benefit, which is not going to help us. What are your initial thoughts in terms of what we see with the game coming up Saturday, especially after what the manager may have said last night at the open question forum?
Well, I think they're looking at getting some players in. It was mentioned at the forum that they had players, we'll call them on trial, training with the team, potential signings. So I would hope that they're going to bring someone in the next few days for this game, because we need it. We need players to come in and help this squad. And actually, it'd be good to see what type of player this management team like. Their style, the ethos that they're bringing in. But we need players to come in. We're home. We should be looking to, go for a win. We've got to win some games, but get points. Let's not be scared. Sorry?
These are the games we've got to look at. These are the games we've got to look at winning between.
Yes.
Every home game has to be. I don't care who we're playing at home. We have to target 3 points. We've seen teams around us, Boston, Braintree picking up points. I mean, I think Braintree beat EC a couple of weeks ago at home. So, I mean, EC, every time I see Eastleigh, I never see anything special from them. No. But every year they're in the top 10, top 12. Yeah. They're just consistently consistent, really, if that makes sense. But, I mean, obviously, they made a new signing, didn't they, from Tamworth? The bloke that scored 2 against us a couple of weeks ago, Shikuna.
But did I read that he's suspended? He got
sent off in his debut, so he's suspended.
That's a shame.
For us. But, I mean, it's just... And I know. I said at the start we've not been playing particularly well, even with those 3 wins. I don't really care if we don't play well Saturday, as long as we pick up 3 points. To be honest, by hook or by crook, we just need to make sure it's scrappy 1-0. Just got to get a win, because as we'll probably talk about shortly, but teams around us are starting to pick up and starting to motor. I mean, Boston are steaming up behind us at the minute. It looked like them and Ebbsfleet were dead and buried a couple of weeks ago, but now it looks like it's just Ebbsfleet dead and buried, because Boston are hot on our heels at the minute. So we need to pick up the points now, because I'm sure we'll touch on it again, but when we're playing the top 3 teams, 2 away from home towards the back end of the season, we need to accumulate our points now, not then.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, we're ahead of Eastleigh on the form table at the moment. So, but we're probably dropping down there. But they drew and lost the last 2 games. So
yeah, but they're a really odd. I think I agree with you, Tom. They're a very, very odd team to get a grip with, in terms of if you analyse National League and talk and blog about them. I look at Eastleigh and I think they're consistently inconsistent, but consistent where they end up every season.
Yeah.
And I think if they were more consistent, they'd probably be even higher, because they started off like a steam train at the beginning of the season. I think they went 11 or 12 unbeaten, then they dropped off like anything, and then they're now back up with only 3 points within the playoffs. And I mean, I had a quick look at it, and I suppose, and this isn't me trying to put any sort of dampeners on it, but since the beginning of the year, they haven't beaten a team above them, hence probably why they were where they are. But they've only lost once to a team below them, which is that Braintree result, which happened to be in the last couple of games. And let's just hope, Chris, from what you say, is that they've lost and drawn the last 2 games. Are they now going to hit that inconsistent period of losing some games right at the wrong time? They don't score many, they don't let many in. Their manager's not the most. I mean, they're just a mere football team, aren't they? Like in terms of what
they've got some serious players, though. I mean, you've got Paul McCallum in that lineup.
Yeah.
He's got bags of experiences. Tyrese Shade, who every time I see him play, he's absolutely electric. And I saw the goal he scored at, I think it was Boston a couple of weeks ago. He ran through the whole team and sort of smashed one in from the edge of the box, and it was like, oh god, like Barry Apper and Jack Cook trying to deal with him. It's going to be an interesting one.
No, I agree. Yeah, they are definitely the ones to watch. I mean, Tyrese Shea was at Solihull last year on loan from Swindon, and they were quick to snap him up. And Shinuka won't be playing on Saturday, which is probably a good thing for us, having bagged 2 against us the other day, and he probably thought he was going to be rubbing his hands together. But they're a really difficult one to sort of judge, and I think we need to just go into that with a bit of confidence that we're playing at home. Hopefully, the pitch won't be like a pudding. The weather gods haven't been nice to the Vale this year, and hopefully it will be firmed up, and we may see a bit more of that possession in play. And we might create something and get 3 points, because, like you said, Tom, Boston, we thought there was probably 2 places up for grabs to go down. There's now probably 3, and that's really not going to help our cause.
Absolutely. So
it's I think we will win on Saturday. That's my prediction. I don't know what you guys feel, what your gut feel is, but Warren, you're always the positive among the months.
I'm the most positive one. Willstone fan around. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. Enzian's going to score against his own team, and we're going to get a point. That's me being positive.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day long. I'll take that all day long. What about you? What do you reckon, Tom? Come on, you can't work each of the hour, but let's see if we can work out this result.
I could see us winning this 1-0, to be honest. We can't get much worse than the last 2 performances, and if we don't get a reaction on Saturday, then I think some serious alarm bells will be ringing in my head in terms of the future of our National League status. So I think we'll hopefully get a reaction on Saturday and battle a dogged 1-0 win.
Yeah, and it will help us go into the game on Tuesday against Altrincham, because they're a team again that are faltering at the wrong time. It's a team that you don't want to be playing because they're in and around the playoffs, but they're faltering. If we can go into that game off the back of a good performance, however it comes, 3 points on the board, go away to Alty on Tuesday night. Again, it's you just got to sort of cling on to those hopes and see where it leaves us at the end of the day. Because I know we all stand there and watch what Maidenhead are doing and what Woking are doing and what Aldershot are doing, and I think we've really just got to start worrying about ourselves as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, agreed.
Warren, I know you went, and Chris, last night we had Meet the Manager, Neil Gibson, and we've touched on some of the subjects. What was your opinions, Chris, in the first instance in terms of what Neil Gibson and Lee Jones, his assistant, sort of gave in terms of his thoughts, his confidence and everything else that out, I guess, in spades to get us on his side?
No, they both came across really well. They're clearly both very experienced coaches, admittedly not at National League level, and they admitted that the Welsh League, apart from TNS, have got a massive budget. The rest of them teams will struggle to get into definitely National League, but they're pro license holders. And he rattled off a whole number of names of managers that he was on the course with. The only one that I can remember is Arteta. Maybe Warren can bail me out on the others.
The Liverpool coach that's gone to Germany, I think he was I can't remember what his name was. Klopp's assistant was there. It was very impressive in terms of how he spoke. I thought he'd be try and be a bit more bullish to get the crowd. We're going to do this as we do this togetherness. I didn't really get that bit, which I thought I was expecting from him. He talked about, and I hope it's not his Ange Postecoglou moment, when he said, I always turn teams around. I take over teams that are struggling and I turn them around into winning teams. My last 4 years, I've had a 67% win percentage. Now, He isn't going to do that at Wealdstone in the National League. We know that, but we've got to build up. You know, he also asked the question to the fans, where do we expect Wealdstone to be? You know, what is our expectations of this club? Are we expected to be a scrapper at the bottom, or do we want to be mid-table going for playoffs? I didn't want to break it to him that maybe we couldn't get into the playoffs, but he spoke well in terms of that. I always think about managers is don't listen to what they say, look at what they do. So he talked about his playing style. He wanted 2 strikers, attacking players, build up, not as many passes as, you know, under Saunders, but he wanted to have that build up and quickly maybe break away with some width and 2 strikers. We can't afford that, what he thinks he's going to get players like that. I think he's thinking in a perfect world, and it's not going to happen. He also talked a lot about bringing players through. He has a track record of bringing players through and giving them first team experience and them getting established in the first team. So he talked about Jeffrey a lot, you know, his strength. So he named 2 players, Dom and Jeffrey were the 2 players he sort of touched on. So you can see he's got a philosophy of bringing players through. Now, I don't think you can do that in the National League. Maybe in the National League stuff a bit more, but in the National League, we don't have the time to bed them in.
To be fair, though, he did say he'll get them dual registered and get them out.
Yes, of course he did. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it came across really well. And I mean, the good thing is he talks a good game. Matt Taylor talked a good game, but didn't have the qualifications or reputation to back it up. These guys have got a good reputation. They're well qualified, so hopefully they know what they're talking about. But as you say, Warren, I agree. They haven't done it at National League level, and you know, are they dreamers? But hey,
I also think that they know that this squad isn't what they want. They know these players are not the players for them. So we're going to see a very different squad next year. And one thing I liked, he said, I'm not going to spend money for this as if it's my own money. So he doesn't want to go and bankrupt a team. All good, but again, he goes, I've got this player we could sign. We can't afford it. So
yeah, I'm a custodian of the club.
I'm a custodian of the club. Very management speak, but it was. Yeah, I'd like to see how it's executed. Hopefully, we're in the National League, and look, let's be honest. They should have been managers in the. They were up for the job. They didn't get it. Now we're paying the price for not making that bold decision. If they were had a pre-season, we'd be thinking differently about them. I think, to
be fair, they were still managers of.
Yes, that's true.
It seems, I think, at the time, but yeah, it is a shame we didn't get them at the beginning of the season. I mean, they've been dealt a bad hand. I mean, coming 2/3 through away season, your team's in a relegation position. You know, sort it out.
Yeah.
So,
and also they have less coaches than Matt Taylor has. There's just the 2 of them, Jason and the fitness coach. Whereas I think Matt Taylor had 3 or 4 other people who could do stuff at half time with the players. How it's working with training. He also talked about training as well, which I thought was quite interesting. They realised that players were getting injured on Thursday evenings. So they've changed the training days from Monday. So it's now Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, did they say, Chris? I can't remember what they said.
They said Monday was basically a warm down from Saturday. So it was a wasted session. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they said they've got a lot of players who aren't working, they're sitting around at home all day. They come training on a Thursday night, and as Warren said, they were picking up injuries. So now introduced Friday day training, so hopefully they can reduce injuries. And I think going back to the Eastleigh game on Saturday, this week they've had 3 solid sessions. So hopefully we'll see the benefit of that on Saturday.
But I think we had 4 before Tamworth as well.
Tom, I know you weren't there last night, but you're very sort of what's the word? your opinions of the manager as it is now. I mean, how do you feel? Because listen, I know you're not going to sort of dig him out, but I know you've got some sort of opinions around how it's going at this present time.
Yeah, it's still early days. It is still early days, and he has been dealt a hand where he's inherited a squad that he may not want, which is another, it's another point in itself. If the players are feeling like they're not in his long-term plans next season, that might explain why the performances have been so apathetic recently. He's just sort of like, oh, what's the point? I'm not going to be here next season, so why G myself up for it? But I mean, but even you, Paul, you've got your views on Taylor. I've got my views on Taylor. We never got pumped for under Matt Taylor, and it's happened 3 times already under Gibson. So that's a huge concern for me. Like I said, I like how he speaks. I don't doubt his footballing qualifications, his credentials. It was obviously a concern when we announced him that he's plied his whole management trade in the Welsh leagues, not even the whole time in the Welsh Premier League, just the Welsh leagues. So there's that sort of lack of experience, the lack of, I don't want to say maybe pressure. I mean, I'm not sure what the fan bases are like in the Welsh league, but it's a complete different ball playing in front of 200 people in the Welsh league and then going to Rochdale and playing in front of 3,000-4,000 people. The jury's still out for me. I'm not saying I don't like him, I want him gone or anything, but I'm just concerned that we're getting pumped fours. Yep. It's the 3rd time now in 5-6 weeks. So that's where I'm currently at with him.
Yeah,
and he talked about it last night, how angry he was effectively by getting pumped 4 times. 3 times, 4 goals a couple of times. He breathes it. You can tell this guy kicks a cat or wherever it is after a loss. He breathes it. But is he good enough? Is he good enough for that role where we are in the National League? I think we'll have to wait and see.
From the board's point of view, we did very well under Dean Brennan with Stuart Maynard looking at helping him, or joint manager, whatever they were, assistant manager. There was always a risk that taking on Stuart Maynard might have a detrimental effect to what had happened, and the board and Rory decided that that's what we're going to go and do. And Stuart wasn't a named manager. Yes, he'd had the experience in National League environments. We then went away from that and we went and got some experience in David Noble, who knew the league. Personally, I felt were they sucked in a little bit by the name and the people he could bring in to help coach, and it didn't work out. And then we go to Matt Taylor, who didn't pull up any trees in the EFL, is a bit of a name, has a bit of experience. It didn't work. We now go back to an inexperienced left field choice in Neil Gibson. Could it work like it did with Stuart Maynard? And that's the sort of way that we should be looking. So I guess, am I clinging on to any sort of hope, in terms of what we're hoping out of it? But I think I agree with the sentiment of many of us, is that we need to see him have a pre-season, get his own squad and get his own philosophy, build that basis and see whatever league we're in next year, see how he then attacks it in terms of, do we go for promotion if we get promoted? If we stay up, are we going to go for mid-table to playoff push, in an ideal world? So, I mean, it's refreshing to know that we've got a feeling that he knows football. He wants to be at the football club. He knows National League players. He does his due diligence, because I think that's everything that Matt Taylor didn't do, and it bit us on the bum and it bit him on the bum. So, I guess the next few games, up until including those Boston games, are going to be really, really important for us in terms of gaining points, confidence, the backing of the fans, and everything that goes with that. So, yeah, he's hoping that it starts on Saturday, but I know we're looking at getting those players in. Anyone got any ideas of who we might want in terms of, and we have no idea who these players are that are training or on trial, but any thoughts, chaps, on who you might want in to supplement the squad, or who they might be talking about in terms of this striker?
In terms of positions, for me, I think the striker's not my main concern personally. I think we've got a goal scorer in Reed. We've got a great foil to Reed in Ashford. As long as they both stay fit, I don't see that as a major concern. I think we need a centre back. I think we need a right back, and I think we need a wide player, a pacey wide player. They're the three areas that I look at and see us lacking at the minute.
So I also think the central midfield. I said to the group I'm with, I talked to, if Alex Dyer is playing a lot of games for us this season, however good a player he is or was, we're going to be in trouble. Because for example, he came on against Tamworth. That's not the kind of game you bring Alex Dyer on. Sorry, he's a controller of a game when you've got the control of the game, and he does it well. When you need to do something different, I'm not sure that he's the X factor that we spoke about earlier that can change a game. He can pass the ball still. He's still got stuff in his locker, but the game is too quick for him, unfortunately, now. And we can't rely on him in central midfield. So
Cisse back fast.
Yeah, there's talk of Cisse being back against Altrincham, was mentioned last night. Hopefully that's their aim, to get him back for the Altrincham game. And Mundell, I think, is out for the season. I think they mentioned that last night as well.
Yeah.
Chris.
We need I think we need someone like, I'm not saying we need De Silva, but we need someone like a De Silva, who can come in, as you say, a bit of speed, bit of solidity in midfield, bit of creativity, maybe. I don't know where we get it from at this time of the season, but we definitely and a centre back.
Well, I think there was probably hope that Will Jarvis was going to be that wide player that stretches defences, gets in behind, cuts inside, has a shot, but by the sounds of it, he's made of paper, isn't he? And just crumbles after every sort of.
Will Randall.
Will Randall. Will Randall.
I was thinking it was Will Jarvis.
Well, he came on against Braintree, didn't he? But we haven't seen him.
What happened after that?
He came on Saturday, actually. I think he came on Saturday.
Did he?
I thought he looked all right. He had one good run, and then didn't really do much else.
He had a good chance against Braintree to kill the game.
Yeah, he did.
3-1, one-on-one, but the defender made a great block. I mean, again, we've seen about 4 minutes of him, so we can't pass judgment on him yet.
So can we keep him fit? Can we get him in the game? Can he be that player that might be missing for the last 10, 11, 12, whatever games we've got left? But I think it's not lost on any of us that the pace, the creativity hasn't been there all season, and especially with Cisse as raw as he was, and it took Matt Taylor a little while to work out what his best position was, and then when we did find out, then he's just pushed on, and he's been a massive loss in terms of just that legs and energy and sort of desire to want to win the ball and play, and he will make mistakes, and he is a little bit erratic, but he's great to watch, and I think that people feed off that. The other thing I think we really struggle with is a real leader in that team. We haven't been able to rely on Eastman. We haven't been able to rely on a goalkeeper when sometimes that comes in. I think the one we've had to rely on to do that job is Max Kretschmar, and as much as he's got that desire, you still need something. He shouldn't be relied on someone who plays in the 10 role to then be the leader in the team. I don't believe. I think we need something in that midfield or that back four. And Adrian Mariappa took the skipper's armband from Jack Cook for whatever reason, and it just doesn't seem to be there. And I think that's part of the issue there, Tom, with the responsibility of the players in terms of not letting goals in. You're making it too easy for teams, and and then you get rolled over. We've seen it all season. It's not just in the last couple of games where we've been dropped fours. We've seen us lose points in the last 10 minutes of games on a regular basis, and that's really harmed where we are in the league as it stands.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure what player in our whole squad really, when the going gets tough, really grabs the game by the scruff of the neck and grabs everyone else and gets them going. I've not seen that from Mariappa all season. It's not Cook. I know Cook's been captain the last couple of seasons, but that's not his style as a captain, really. Max, I feel like Max is probably better at that when he's actually performing well himself. But like I mentioned earlier in the season, I think he's really struggled the last couple of months. He's looked way off the pace. He's had little impact, and I think he's probably frustrated with his own game, which is then not breeding confidence to everyone else around him.
So I also think the telling scale was when we won 3 games in a row was after the senior players gave the rest of the squad a dressing room bollocking. And to me, that's a sign about the manager as well that I'm a bit concerned on, is that it needed reaction from the players to gee these guys up to go on a run. Is he able? He's a lovely guy. I didn't come away thinking this guy's an inspirational leader or someone. I'm sure he gives it to them, but I just don't know whether they bought, I think we was mentioned earlier, whether they bought into him. And that's what he's got to do over the next few weeks, because we can't rely on doing what we did last year in last 5 games to keep us up. We need some buffer.
I don't think that's necessarily his fault, though. I mean, you look at some of the players, we've got some really experienced players in our squad, Enzio, Alex Reid, Mariappa, Eastman. Have they looked at a manager coming in from the Welsh Premier League and gone, what's this? Like, I don't know. They've gone from having Matt Taylor, who's, a fellow ex-pro, to someone they had. Well, I can almost guarantee they've never heard of him. So there probably is some time to adjust to that. And maybe they are still thinking sort of, huh? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I might be naive to this. I played football on Saturdays for a few years and played in different teams, and I can't believe that any footballer doesn't go out there for personal pride, especially when it's their main income, and not put a shift in and not think I'm playing for my future. And no footballer wants to be remembered for being in a team that gets relegated. They might not win anything, but they want to be in a team that wants to be relegated. So, I find it very difficult. And again, this may be just me being a bit naive, that players will sit in dressing rooms and not warm to this and not do that. When actually, when you go out there and it's your own personal pride, is, you know what, if no one else is doing it, you do it. And if you do it, you hope others will do it alongside you. And so I find it really, really hard to believe. But it may well happen. I'm not saying it doesn't. It may well happen.
It's not. I don't think it's necessarily that they're sort of down in tools or anything. It's just, when they're given a system to play in and they don't necessarily agree with it or they don't necessarily understand it, it just seems to be there's no cohesion at the minute. There's no. It's a difficult one to try and articulate. It's just.
Yeah.
Well, he said nothing doesn't seem right.
Yeah. He said that he's trying to piece together a jigsaw of a team, and he's putting players in positions to do certain jobs, and they're making mistakes. Now, is that the player's fault? Is it the manager's fault? We don't know. But I'd like to think, I agree with Paul that these players are going out to play for personal pride. Also, they're playing for a contract next year potentially. Not just with us, could be with any team.
Yeah, exactly that. And I tell you, listen, we've just got to believe they're going to go out there and they're going to do their best for whatever football team they're playing for. That happens to be Wealdstone at the moment. And, we get behind them. They feed off of that. The manager feeds off that. He's clearly a positive person. He clearly sees what is going to come in the future, wherever we're going to end up. And I suppose we've just got to believe in him, believe in the players for the next sort of third of this league, and hope that we're still in National League at the end of it.
He set a 5-game winning target. That's what he thinks he sort of needs to stay up in this division, win five games.
I think 4 will do it personally. I know, Paul, you mentioned at the start 50 points to do it, but it's very rare a National League, a 24-team National League goes to 50 points. I think if you look at, there's been some strange ones recently with COVID and 23 teams and whatnot, but generally you need about 47, 48, I think. And I'm not sure the likes of Maidenhead, Fylde, Boston are going to accrue 50 points. I think you're probably going to need, what are we on now, 35? Mm-hmm. So I think we're probably going to need 4 wins and a couple of draws. That will hopefully be enough. I think we'll struggle to get 5 in the next 12 games. Teams that we're playing.
He's got to set a target that isn't too easy, but is the dangle. He's got to set that target. If they get 4 in the next 7 games or something, they'll think they're cruising because they've hit that 4 target. You've got to set them a high bar to get to know that they're still going to fight.
if you look at 2 games against Boston, 1 against Maidenhead, 1 against Aldershot, 3 of which at home, we have to target 7 points at least from that as a minimum. If we don't achieve that, we're as good as gone.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and what I think as well, Tom, I think, and it goes on to what you're saying about getting done 4-1, 4-1, 4. We can't, goal difference maybe come into play, and we've seen that erode over the last few weeks, and it's worth a point, isn't it, at the end of the season if you're on the same number of points.
We were looking so much healthier compared to Maidenhead and Co a couple of weeks ago, but it's not quite the case now, is it? And
we're not prolific goal scorers. We never have been, really in any National League season. So, we've always been resolute in defence, even in losses, in terms of not shipping too many goals, apart from the odd exception. But I think that's another concern, is if you're going to get beat, minimise the beating in terms of goals scored. So, listen, let's hope that we'll come out of this game on Saturday against Eastleigh at the Vale, and we'll go up to Altrincham on Tuesday, and you go into the next Saturday game with maybe a little bit more of a positive mindset. Hopefully Neil Gibson and Lee Jones have sort of given a bit of enthusiasm, hope to the supporters that were there last night. We may get another 1 or 2 players in and crawl out of that bottom 4 and go into those games that, Tom, you've just mentioned in terms of trying to get wins. But I think that concludes tonight, chaps. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your input.
Paul, I just wanted to say there was the Supporters Club meeting last night. Supporters, join the Supporters Club. It's £20 for life. The membership's gone from 200 to 300. With a 1,400 crowd, we should be aiming to get that above 500 now. The fans, they want to engage with the younger fans. They would like them to get involved in some ways. They do a great job. That Supporters Club, all those events they put on for the Wembley games, the raffle. They got an Easter raffle that's coming up, which they want people to buy tickets for, that are available now. They do a great job, and I think people should join. They're only 10% of the football club. They're a major shareholder in the football club, and they're a heartbeat of the club. And you should join.
Agree, Warren. And well said. And thanks for sort of raising that. Apologies, I missed that one off in terms of.
And it's the coaches as well. The coaches to the games. If you can't drive, get involved with the coach. Get on the coaches. Go and support the team. The team needs us. People should get on the coaches.
Get on the coach to Boston.
Yeah, there is a coach going to Boston, so please contact any of us that you see on the StonesCast. Dave Reeder, our esteemed coach leader, is always up for an order or 2 of a seat. So yes, we will be going to Boston on the coach. Hopefully that gets filled. I think Warren's quite right. The team does need us. Neil Gibson needs us. The club needs us. And again, alongside the Supporters Club, we have got the Wembley season or final season coming up. So if anyone can help, serve burgers, fry onions, do washing up, even just engaging with those fans that we have come through the door. I've certainly worked on them and enjoyed the morning. So, please, if there's anything you can do, because they are vital to helping the squad, financing players. We've seen that this season, that will continue going into next season. So please do support the football club, support the bar, support the Supporters Club, support the coaches, and most importantly, let's go and support the players that are going to be put out and put in that blue and white shirt of Wealdstone, because I think we all agree we want to be in the National League next season. As much as we love Slough and Hemel and Dorking, if they're going to be in it, and Enfield Town, I think we prefer the likes of Rochdale, Oldham, etc. So let's do our bit off the pitch. Let's hope that they do their bit on the pitch, and in a few weeks' time, we'll have a National League security in place, and we can sort of move on from there and support Neil Gibson next year. But chaps, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your honest views, your open views. It is appreciated. We are supporters of this football club. We do love it. And, I think it's great that we get that platform to sort of say what we want to say in a respectful way. And hopefully those that do listen, thank you very much. we can engage with us and let us know how we're getting on. And if you want to be on it in the future, then please do let us know, and we'd love to have you on. And we'll have some more debutants like Warren, who's probably a bit better looking and more positive, and we can go from there. But for now, that does conclude StonesCast 73, and we'll see you Saturday at the Vale. Up the Stones.
Up the Stones.
Up the Stones.